Hi, I'm Jay Andrews. Welcome to Laguna Tools. Today we're going to have a deep look here at our new line of edge banders that we're really proud of. We've got the Bandit 3, the Bandit 4, and here today we have the Bandit 5. This will be our new flagship model, and we're really proud to introduce this model as it has features like corner rounding and pre-milling, along with the other features that you've come to expect from a Laguna edge bander. Let's have a look at all the stations here. We're going to open it up, have a look at all the stations, and then we'll run a few boards. Our first station is the pre-milling station. This allows you to get the perfect edge on the board before you apply your tape and glue. There are two counter-rotating shaper cutters inside, and there's independent control and independent air cylinders for each station. Now we're here at the feed belt side of the machine so we can have a close-up look here at the pre-milling station. This is the entire pre-mill station right here, and it's got two cutters for the pre-mill, and they rotate in opposite directions. They're counter-rotating. And the reason for the counter-rotating is so you can mill the front edge and the back edge of the panel without any chip out or any tear out at all. The next station right here is the glue application and the tape application. Those come together in one station right here. There'll be a rough trim, a series of pressure rollers. You'll see that there's a feed roller here for the tape. The tape will come across here to the tape tray area. We'll have the tape tension. This will be our height setting for the thickness or the width of the tape right here. This will limit that. Next is the rough trim guillotine, and this will go through and cut the tape and allow you to go through and keep feeding material through the machine. And then finally, we have a series of pressure rollers. First off is the large diameter pressure roller so that that tape can make the turn. And secondly, we have a series of three smaller rollers that press that tape into the glue and into the edge of the panel. Now, each of these has independent controls. They're all pneumatic controlled. Your setting for your tape thickness is right here. And then you have pressure settings at the bottom here for the application rollers and for the guillotine. There's one cool feature here after the pre-milling, but before the gluing station, and that's this little nozzle. As your board leaves the pre-mill, it could have a little bit of debris on the edge of it. That nozzle is designed to blow the edge of the panel, get it cleaned up, and ready for the glue application. Now we've talked about the tape feeding in. The other important part is the glue, and this is a hot melt glue pot. And it's comprised of this entire gluing station right here, which is kind of high tech. You've got your glue pellet reservoir right here, and you fill this from the top. You also have a sight glass so you can tell how much of the glue pellets you have in your system. There's a preheater which heats the pellets on their way down, and there's an automatic feed system that will feed this down for you. The glue then travels down into the glue pot itself. There's another series of heating elements inside. And finally, the glue is lifted up to the application roller. As that rotates, it's got the knurled edge on it that'll actually hold the glue on it. And as your panel is coming through, it'll apply the glue to the edge of the panel. And then finally, the tape comes in and applies the glue. Now, servicing this glue pot is very easy. It's on a pneumatic cylinder right here and an articulating arm. It allows you to go through and to pull this up, get in and clean and service the glue pot quite easily. This entire compartment in this door is the first stage of the milling stations. We'll have front and rear edge trimming. We're going to have the top and bottom trimming. There's two different stations. This machine can go through and do tape up to 3 millimeter. And so for the 3 millimeter, there's a heavier milling station. For your PVC, your 0.4 up to your 2 mil, there's a lighter trimming station here as well. Now, before we talk about the in-trim station, let's have a look at the automatic lubrication. This is centralized automatic lubrication, and it will send oil throughout the lines here, throughout the entire machine to go through and reduce your maintenance needs. Now, the next station is our in-trim station. It's mounted to this heavy casting, and that makes sure that it's stable and accurate. The motors are independent high-frequency motors. There are two motors that run these carbide-tipped saw blades, and that trims the front and rear edge of your tape as it's passing through the machine. These are independently controlled, and they're on independent slides, so they can hit the front edge and the rear edge of your panel as it's feeding through. Now, whether you have a long panel or a short panel that gets trimmed very quickly, these allow it to keep up. Now that your panel has the tape trimmed on the front and back edge, we need to trim the top and bottom of the panel. And we have two different trimming stations right here. The first one is for your tapes that are going to be trimmed flush without any radius. You'll see in here that we have carbide tipped cutters. These are shaper cutters with insert carbide knives on them. And this will trim the top and bottom of the panel flush. Now, these are floating heads, and they'll move up and down and in and out along with your panel. these guide rollers right here will go through and make sure that the tape trimming is done precisely to the thickness of your panel. Now this is the second top and bottom trimming station, and you'll run the machine with either one or the other one running. When you're running thick tape, like the 3mm tape, you're going to want to have that radius on the edge, and that's what this trimming station does. It has the same high frequency motors that we have on the other trim station, and that gives you plenty of power with low power consumption. And it also provides plenty of power for these shaper cutters. These shaper knives here are radiused, and this is what creates that rounded edge on the 3mm product. This is my favorite station on the entire machine. This is the corner rounding station, and corner rounding is used only for 3mm product. Your 3mm tape is quite wide, and if you did a butt joint where you've got tape coming up the front and along the top, it leaves a really ugly looking edge, and what we want to do is round it and make it look nice. Just like we have the radius on the edge of the tape, we're going to have it on the front and rear edge as well. You've got two different cutters here, again high frequency motors, again carbide tip shaper cutters, and these have the same radius that you'll have on the top and bottom of the panel. Now these have a lot of linkage here, pneumatic cylinders, because they need to move up and around the panel to get that corner rounding done as your panel processes through. These are controlled independently. You may want to have a corner rounding on the front edge but not on the rear edge and not the front edge, or you want to have them both done, and that is controlled through the control panel that we'll have a look at a little bit later. You have the pneumatic controls right here. This allows you to go through and independently set each of the pneumatic controls for these cylinders to give you the best product available. You can see that there's a wide range of motions on these and a nice beefy stop right here. Now the last station inside the main cabin here is going to be the scraping station, and again this is a 3mm station because it has radius knives and they match the radius that we used on the shaper cutters up ahead here. What happens is that when you're milling these with the shaper cutters, you're going to have some really fine little mill marks, and you might see that in the finished product. So the scraper goes through and it matches the radius, it scrapes the edge of that. The collection for the dust collection goes up through this collection box. Because you're scraping these, you might have long little strings, and those strings can get caught up in the dust collection. So they go up into this box right here that you'll clean out periodically. Makes it cleaning very easy. The other thing is, again, these are spring loaded. They'll move in and out and up and down just to match your panels, and they have the same copy pad rollers that you'll have on the other stations. So the entire cabinet is enclosed. It has the baffles between the stations, and then finally we've got the sound absorption material on the inside just to reduce that noise signature in your shop. Now we covered the scraping station for the 3mm product. But for your smaller tapes, your 0.4 up to your 2mm flush edge trim, you'll use the scraper in the back that has just a flat knife. And these are a standard 14mm carbide insert knife, and it has the blowers right here next to it. So as the panel's coming through, it'll scrape the top and bottom edges to make sure that they're perfectly done. Again, these are floating heads. They have pneumatic pressure on them, and they have the blowers to keep everything clean. Now as we step through the edge bander, we're finally at the end. We've got the tape applied, we've got the front and rear edge trimmed, we've got the top and bottom trimmed, the corners are rounded. Finally, we need to come through and polish it up. And as you've gone through all these processes, that edge could get a little bit dull. Finally, we've got two buffing wheels right here. These are independently controlled, so you can have them on or off depending on the type of tape that you're running. And these will go through and restore the luster to the edge of your tape. Now while we're down here, we'll have a look at this. This is the feed motor. This feed motor is directly geared in to the link belt, and that's what's been pulling the panel through all of these processes. Now we've had a look at all the stations of the machine. We're going to move up here to the operations end of the machine. The operator is going to go through and put the tape on here, and then most importantly they're going to be using the control panel. We'll go ahead and start this up, and as it's going through its warm up and boot up stages here, we'll talk about tape. You're going to go through and put your tape here, and you can actually set some of the tape adjustments on the screen. It'll flash up here that we've got Laguna tools on the screen. Now we're going to get a warning here. This is the low air pressure warning. Now I haven't turned on the air to the machine yet because I wanted to show the alarm. There's a few alarms that'll come up if the machine's not ready to use. The air pressure, if I turn the air pressure on, then I can hit reset and then the machine will be ready to operate. Or I can simply bypass this right now to get to the next menu. This is the tape menu. So we talked about putting a certain amount of tape on here, and this lets us adjust the amount of tape forward and aft of the panel. You're going to have a little bit of overhang that you'll need, and you can actually adjust that right here. Now there's another alarm similar to the low air pressure alarm that you might see, and that's if you have a door that's open during operation. We'll go ahead and get the door open up here, and you'll see the alarm pop up. And this alarm lets us know that we have either an e-stop button that's pushed or one of the door switches that's pushed. You'll see that there's micro switches on each of the doors, and that'll prevent you from running the machine. Now you can go through and reset the machine, shut the doors, and right now we're going to exit through this so that we can get to the other menus, but make sure that the doors are closed during operation. During this video, we may have those switches bypassed so you can see some of the operation, but make sure that those switches are up and running when you're using the machine. Now that we have our glue up to temperature, we're going to start running some boards, and we'll walk you through the control panel. There's a few things to look at. We're going to be running 3mm tape, which runs on the low setting, and this is where we'll change the speed for the track feed on it. We can go low, medium, and high. We're going to leave it on the low setting here. We'll exit that screen. The pre-mill has two different controls here, one for the in-feed and one for the out-feed pre-miller. We can get those turned on. We'll start turning on the glue right now. That'll get the glue roller agitating, stirring the glue pot, and start pumping glue through the system. And then we'll go through and turn on the front and rear edge trimming units. We're going to use the fine trim, which is going to be the rounded edge for the 3mm product. We're going to go through and use the corner rounding on the second pass, not on the first pass. And then what we'll do is we'll also have the scraping unit on as well. And then finally the buffing unit. So let's go ahead and get these all turned on, and we'll run some products through. Now that we've got the first edge on, we're going to apply the second edge, and we're going to use the corner rounding feature, so we'll need to turn that on right here. That's a beautiful corner. Now when you're running multiple boards through, you can't feed them nose to tail. You have to have a little bit of space in between. And to adjust that space, there's a small cylinder right here. This little air cylinder will come down so you can't feed the next board until it's ready to go. And that gives the machine the space in between to operate, to do the in-trimming operations. Boy, that edge finish is just amazing here on this 3mm edge banding. Now, if you're doing 2mm edge banding or the 0.4mm, some thin tape, and you don't need the corner rounder or pre-milling, you can pick up our Bandit 3, Bandit 4. Those are some great machines. If you're doing the 3mm, come over here to the Bandit 5. It'll serve you well. If you need more information on this machine or the other edge banders, give us a call toll free at 800-234-1976, or look us up on the web at lagunatools.com.